have you seen this thing going on in the Chicago suburbs where this mayor, Tiffany Henyard, for the past couple of years has been really walking that fine line between tyrant and criminal? Have you seen this?
I saw something about this. I just saw like a fight break out on TV. I missed the story, but it turned out like it sounded like her boyfriend was beating someone up in the crowd. Am I getting this right?
You're definitely getting that right, and it has to do a lot to do with the intermingling between her personal life and her professional life and all this. If you guys need a refresher on what's going on in Dolton, Illinois, and Thornton Township, which is outside of the Chicagoland area there, I suggest going to Nate the Lawyer's channel. He has a whole playlist of this stuff. It's been going on for years. We tried to cover it on here, but it's just too much stuff. We can't devote everything to Dolton, Illinois. But the past couple of days, there's been a lot of news coming out of there. The first bit of news is that this woman, Tiffany Henyard, she's the mayor of Dolton, Illinois. She's the supervisor of Thornton Township, holds both jobs at the same time. There's been a lot of questions over the past year and a half about different expenses that she's put onto the township and how she runs the government in both the township and the village. So, these little municipalities, they overlap a lot. There's a lot of different things. But apparently the spending has been so out of control that when she took over the township and the village, there was a surplus in the village, and then within a year the village was in a $5 million deficit. Now this isn't a big area. This is like 40,000 people or so, Dolton, Illinois. And my God, to spend up that kind of bill was kind of ridiculous.
Bro, the funniest part of this story, other than the fist fight that broke out, was this mayor. Are you tracking who's investigating her and who just like released a report on this corruption?
Oh, we have. Listen, I have all the clips. Let's get into it right now. The first, there's three big pieces of news that happened recently. The first one being that Tiffany Henyard, the supervisor of Dolton, she's not going to be on the ballot to run for re-election for the supervisor position in Dolton, Illinois. Instead, it's going to be former NFL player turned state senator Napoleon Harris. I actually remember him playing, I think it was for the Minnesota Vikings. But that's neither here nor there. This would represent a doubling in salary for the state senator, going from like somewhere around 100,000 or so to 200,000 for a township. First of all, that's cuckoo bananas in of itself. But when you get to what happened with this election, we know a little something about inside baseball when it comes to nominations and committee hearings and caucuses. Napoleon Harris called for a caucus in the area and basically didn't give Henyard the memo about the caucus. And the caucus, those present, voted for him to be the nominee. And, well, you'll see now how it all came out in the wash. Let's check this out from NBC Chicago.
Development in the saga of embattled Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard. A judge has dismissed her lawsuit, claiming that a caucus that threw her off the ballot was illegal. NBC5's Regina Waldrop has been following this case very closely for a very long time. She joins us now with details. Regina.
Marion, it is official. Tiffany Henyard is off the ballot for Thornton Township Supervisor, a role she was appointed to in 2022. Now, today, a Cook County judge ruled she didn't file her lawsuit properly, and he dismissed it without prejudice, meaning she cannot refile. So I want to take you back to the scene December 3rd. That is when Tiffany Henyard was thrown off the ballot. It was a packed and raucous meeting with an overflow crowd waiting outside.
Now, Mr. Galloway, you and I have attended meetings like this. We've chaired meetings like this. Let's talk about some of the inside baseball of what happens in these county meetings, these township meetings, and all that. The first thing I want to point out is that the House always wins. The rules of whatever the gathering is, they're written in favor of the committee at all times. And if you know how to write bylaws, or you know how to write these rules, you can basically squash any opposition that you may be facing, any sort of insurgency or anything like that. Talk a little bit about how these meetings are really, everything happens before the meeting.
Well, let's start with this. First of all, I don't know if we prefaced this right. Democrats, all the guardians of democracy. That's this whole thing is all Democrat through and through. Everybody in that room. These meetings.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. This is a one-party system in this area for sure.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And as a matter of fact, Lori Lightfoot, I think we're going to get to this later, she's the one, the mayor of Chicago, who lost her own bid for re-election in Chicago for being too incompetent, is the one investigating this small town mayor here. So getting back to the meeting, I've watched Gene, in a former life, chair some of these meetings, right? I've done it much smaller scale.
You're going to call me a conniver and a shady character now. You're putting the sus on me?
But I was definitely one of your right hand henchmen. I think a blog used to call me enforcer.
Thank you.
Yeah, so when you're involved in local politics like this, and I suspect, especially the DNC, but the RNC probably acts very similar, to be honest with you, because we were involved in local Republican politics. When you hold these types of meetings, or you can call it a caucus if you want, a convention, those who control the rules, those who control the notice, those who set the time, date, and manner in which the votes will be cast, and those who decide how a proxy vote can be cast or will be cast, or if it's valid or not, determine the outcome, right? It's not how many votes you get, it's who's going to count the votes. And when you're in control of the party apparatus, you basically pick the outcome. And put your legal hat on here for a second, Gene, because I could have sworn this happened to us a few times. Even if you're sued, like the courts are hesitant to get involved in internal party squabbles, to sort it out. They leave it up to the rules committee or the law chairman of the party, really, right?
Well, as someone who acted as the law chairman of a party for several years, I can tell you that, yes, courts are loath to get involved in inter-party squabbles like this. But you're absolutely right in saying that not only are the rules set in favor of the committee, but the rules for counting votes is also set in favor, because as you mentioned, if you have a law committee, they can make determinations about the validity of votes. It's almost like the Boss Tweed era of politics, in that he or she who counts the votes controls the votes. It's one of the reasons why I'm not involved in these inter-party squabbles anymore. It's just very, very icky. With that background in mind, let's continue through the clip.
At that time, Henyard called it unfair and illegal. She said none of her supporters were let in to cast a vote. Now, we spoke to elections expert attorney Bert Oldelson, who tells us the caucus was legal, and also a Thornton Township resident who says it might have been legal, but it might not have been ethical.
And that's where it gets into that gray area where lawyers love to live, by the way. And it's where we lived for a couple of years, pal, in People's Republic of New York City. Sorry, not sorry. If that's the way the game is played, then so be it. Gonna go back to the video now.
I think that they used some plays out of Tiffany Henyard's own playbook. They booked a venue that was too small to hold everyone who wanted to attend. They seated their own supporters early.
Were there, conducted the caucus, it was done legally. Even a properly filed objection wouldn't have stood. So she's done.
Tiffany Henyard's only option now is to be a write-in candidate in Thornton Township's April 1st election. Now, today's court ruling in no way impacts her role as Dolton mayor. She remains the Democratic nominee in that contest, but she also is facing a number of lawsuits and financial investigations. Next Monday evening, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot will release her second report on financials at a public meeting at the Dolton Park District. And we've reached out to Tiffany Henyard's attorney, but we have yet to hear back.
And now
So that leads us to this video, pal, where we pick up with Lori Lightfoot, of all people, giving sort of like an independent counsel report about the workings in Dolton, Illinois. Let me just reiterate what happened in Dolton over the recent months. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. It's meant to be half of a summary, really. So there are questions about her credit card uses for trips to Vegas and to New York and to other places that were all billed to the township, extravagant meals and luxury hotels and all that. And then there was the battle between her position as Dolton mayor and the Board of Trustees, which is like their city council, concerning whether or not bills being getting paid or not. She gave overtime to police officers who were favorable to her, to the point where they had like hundreds of hours of overtime in a pay period. It was ridiculous. They acted as her personal police. Henyard was also accused of shaking down businesses in Dolton, Illinois, and especially creating barriers to commerce for businesses that didn't support her, including inspections and violations and things of that nature. She started a nonprofit, and the question surrounding both Dolton and Thornton Township is what the hell is going on with all the money? Because in a lot of cases, Henyard was the only signatory involved. She violated rules that required dual signatures between her and the clerk. And they brought in, the Board of Trustees brought in Lori Lightfoot, because she's so trustworthy, to discuss her findings based upon the information she was given. Anything you want to add to that little bit of a summary there, pal?
Lori Lightfoot was so incompetent that she lost a mayoral primary in the city of Chicago. And there's some additional serious questions you left out. I have serious questions about that weave and those eyelashes. I don't know what's going on.
Give it time, bro. Give it time. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But for now, let's get to Lori Lightfoot, that bastion of integrity. The same woman who said that you can have BLM marching down anybody else's street but mine. The woman who couldn't get out of a Democratic caucus, a Democratic primary, I should say, and lost because she lost the confidence of her own people of Chicago. She's going to be the light bearer. She's going to be the one that is shining a light of transparency on what's going on in Dolton. This is, wow. If you're so incompetent and you're so corrupt that Lori Lightfoot says, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit too much. Here we go.
Had a simple question. What happened to all the money? The village tasked former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to look into this. And tonight she finally delivered the summary of her investigation into possible mismanagement of funds by Mayor Tiffany Henyard. NBC5's Regina Waldrop was there as Lightfoot laid out how the village ended up being millions of dollars in the red.
So more shocking details released about financial and legal matters. And now that the investigation is over, Lori Lightfoot says she hopes this small village can right the ship, get back to transparency and good government.
Good evening, everyone.
A packed Park District building, eager residents reacting to the results of a nearly 9-month investigation into the spending habits of Dolton's mayor and her administration.
I'm happy that the report is out so that the residents finally know some of the truth.
Still shocked because it's just amazing that this happened. And I think it saddens me also because the government didn't step in.
Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot said she used witness testimony, emails, and other documents for her probe. With no subpoena power, she says she ran into some challenges, but still managed to get the job done. Henyard didn't attend the meeting.
We were tasked with looking into irregularities, allegations of irregularities regarding financial mismanagement.
Some of her key findings: credit card expenditures never approved, no receipts, more than $170,000 in travel-related costs, $51,000 spent at area restaurants.
$51,000 in restaurants. Now, I'm a big guy. Let's face it. Ain't no way I could see someone spending that amount of money. Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Look what you got here. What? Look at this. $26,000 for one fucking dinner.
Okay, no. This could be explained. Dad, we had the FISA clients.
Right, the porterhouse from Argentina.
The expensive champagne, the wine. We had to buy champagne. And you ordered all the fucking sides. Tell them about the sides you ordered.
The sides, so... Sides? Yeah. Sides? $26,000 worth of sides? What are these sides? They cure cancer?
Well, I mean, what... This is 40,000 people. 51,000? You could have fed them all.
Yeah, you know who's been, speaking of like large food bills, you know who's been oddly silent in all of this? Governor Pritzker of the state of Illinois. You know, where is he and the state? Why is Lori Lightfoot investigating this? First of all, she's incompetent, right? We've mentioned it several times. And with no subpoena power. So nothing, what's going to happen to this mayor? A political consequence? That's it? For this outright corruption?
Well, she is currently under federal investigation and has been for months now.
Now,
there have been cases made against some of her allies in government. Some, it's widely believed, may have turned state's evidence on her, and the wheels of federal justice are grinding away very slowly.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, though, Gene. And I don't want to divert from the topic, but don't you find it a little odd that in all of these big government, police state, blue states and cities, it seems like it's only the federal government that ever detects crimes at the local level when it comes to corruption of local politicians? I mean, you could draw a parallel to New York City, right? The feds are looking at the mayor of New York City. Where is he, by the way? He's been sick for a while and out of the public eye. But why is the state police or New York City police or the state police of Illinois or the city police of Dolton looking into any of this, right? Why does it take the feds to detect this stuff? It's astonishing.
It's a great question, and I think maybe it is. I just realized we didn't put our names up there. It's maybe, dare I say, professional courtesy. I won't shake your apple tree if you don't shake mine. After all, we are talking about, like the People's Republic of New York, a one-party dominant state. We've discussed this on the channel before. The last governor to be elected out of office in the People's Republic of New York is Mario Cuomo from the early 90s. Everyone else has either resigned in disgrace, refused to run, or got taken down by scandal. So I think it's a matter of it being a one-party area, but also I think it's a matter of I won't come to you and shake you about your problems because I got skeletons in the closet too. I strongly believe that's
that's partially it. But just across the river from where you live, in New Jersey, Bob Menendez just got 11 years in jail for the gold bars in his pocket, right? He was a federal senator, so I get it. The federal government went after him. But these locals, I get it's one-party states, but the Democrats are supposedly, or were supposedly, the party of the rule of law, right? Between Joe Biden and these local electeds and governors, really. Like Pritzker thinks he can be president of the United States, right? Mayor Adams, once upon a time, I think, thought he could be president of the United States, right? So corrupt. It's painful.
I agree with you, and maybe it takes the federal government to oversee the state and locals because they're detached from the how would you call it, the social cliques of party politics in states and municipalities. I mean, everybody, just from our experience, everybody knows everybody, everybody's friends with everybody, and everybody benefits from everybody. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Let's get back to this clip here with Mayor Lightfoot investigating what's going on in Dolton between the $170,000 in travel and the over $50,000 in food going out on their credit cards.
More than $218,000 for Amazon purchases and almost $50,000 in supplies for the village's skating rink.
What? Who's spending on Amazon?
I tried to tell you, bro, those eyelashes are expensive. You could buy them in bulk on Amazon. They're not cheap.
Good Lord.
There's no tracking system for what happened to them after they arrived here.
As for litigation, 48 separate lawsuits filed against the village, 12 for FOIA violations. And regarding Vegas, Lightfoot says no business opportunities came to the village as a result of 2 trips taken there. She also says the mayor's ex-assistant, who said she was assaulted by a trustee on a trip in 2023, didn't cooperate with her investigation, nor did any other key witnesses. As for the federal investigation, well, Lightfoot says she doubts anything will happen before next month's election. She also touched on the new administration.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the new administration. I don't think that they seem to be doing lots across the country and not really focus on the village of Dolton. I don't believe that the federal investigation should be impacted, but there's really no way of telling it.
And how the hell would she know? What inside track does Lori Lightfoot have on the ongoing federal investigation? And she's saying that nobody else is going to be acting badly here. Why is she so self-assured of that, pal?
On a serious note, and black women, listen to me. Please
Oh,
listen. You guys keep voting for Democrats, right? There's no doubt that this mayor will be replaced by another Democrat. There's no doubt. It's a one-party. Look at the crowd there, right? Are we supposed to not acknowledge that more than 75% of the people in that crowd are women, and probably 90% of those women were black, right? They vote Democratic. The numbers prove it on the national level. 95% for Kamala Harris or whatever black women were doing, while black males were slightly less than that, right? So there's some hope there in that demographic. But black women, the mere fact that you're comfortable with Lori Lightfoot conducting an investigation and giving you results just proves to me that you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to elect another Democrat, probably based on skin color, and you're going to get the same results. Wake the F up.
So, by the way, I'm checking the census stats for Dolton, Illinois. I was wrong. It's not 40,000. It's like more like 20,000. Race and origin, black alone, 90.9% for the village of Dolton. The next biggest demographic is mixed race, 2.9%, Hispanic, 1.2%, white alone, 4.9%, and white alone, not Hispanic or Latino, is more like 4.4%. Just to give you an idea of the breakdown of the area.
Yeah, and is there a Republican candidate going to run?
Yeah, right.
No, right? So that's all that needs to be said. You know, in a one-party system, and I've said this for years, especially when I was out campaigning, Donald Trump kind of stole it when he's like, what do you have to lose, right? No one has to compete for the black female vote, right? Democrats don't have to go after it. They got it. Republicans will never waste money going after it because they know they can't get it. Now, Donald Trump rolled the dice and tried to expand the base with other minority groups, and he was somewhat successful, right? Especially with Hispanics and Asians, and somewhat with blacks compared to other Republicans, black males, I should say. But black females, you're going to keep getting shitty government if you keep voting based on race and gender. That's just it. Wake up.
Get your head out of your ass.
So after all of this, the Lightfoot report, there was a new board member that used to be an employee that was anti-Henyard that was elected into a vacant position, and the lawsuit that ended up losing, so that now she can only be mayor of Dolton going forward and have a split between the mayor of the village and the supervisor of the town, and that's going to work out so great. Amidst all this tension, there was a meeting, I believe it was of Thornton Township, where this happened, and we're going to continue on here with NBC Chicago.
Township looked like it was ready to get back to business tonight after a recent government shutdown, but then a brawl broke out.
Yes, this happened during the first board meeting with a new board member. NBC5's Regina Waldrop with the very latest.
First of all, shout out to Regina for covering all this nonsense, but so casually, these anchor people are just like, yeah, a brawl broke out, as you do at different, governmental functions and such. Really?
Yeah, and high school basketball games, and high school football games, and NFL games in the stands. America's a mess.
Well, let's see what Regina has to say about this latest news, and then I have some things to add into it that maybe she didn't mention, or you need a little inside baseball to know.
This was a heated meeting from the beginning, with Tiffany Henyard's boyfriend put on administrative leave. But when someone in the audience called her a name, that's when things got out of control.
You gone.
This happened.
The word that was left out of that was the B word. So this was during public session at the this meeting. This guy basically went on a rant, and at the end he said, "You gone, bitch," and that's what was cut out. So, and this was and she also referenced the boyfriend, which is going to be mentioned here as well. So let's get back to it.
Right after a community activist called Tiffany Henyard an expletive, a fight erupting in the back of the room. Fists, kicks, people jumping on top of tables, monitors smashed, with Henyard and her boyfriend in the middle of the melee.
Everything, it was scary, it was horrible. That's an embarrassment.
It should have never come to blows, and Tiffany should have never got involved.
It was the public comment portion of Tuesday's Thornton Township board meeting. Earlier in the evening, the room erupted with applause.
To put Kamal Woods and William Moore on administrative leave.
When the board came back from closed session with the announcement that Henyard's boyfriend, Kamal Woods, who runs the township's at-risk youth program, and William Moore, another employee, would both be put on paid administrative leave immediately.
I don't understand why they're on leave with pay, because essentially nothing changes for them, because they've been doing the same thing.
The board also approved an independent investigator and/or forensic auditor to look into the use of certain grant money and possible township funds related to the at-risk youth program and the outreach department. Henyard called it political retaliation. She's threatening a lawsuit.
Oh, I'm so happy, y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for the lawsuit. But anyway.
My God. First of all, the very natural looking hairstyle there. This is the same boyfriend that I believe lives with Tiffany Henyard, who both of them earn, 6 figures from different governmental jobs, and their landlord is trying to evict them for not paying rent. This just casually throwing that out there. By the way, they make some reference to this, I think, later on, but as part of this brawl, Henyard got off of the dais, the table there, and went towards the brawl, and according to local news reports, lost her wig and a single shoe while jumping into the fight.
Bro, look at my man's face next to her, bro. That poor guy. What is he doing there? Move, dude. Why are you in Dolton?
There are some true believers out there maybe that think they can make a difference, or maybe they don't want to be... Well, you know what? Okay, let's get cynical. Maybe this guy doesn't want to move because him moving may signal something to the feds that he needs to be investigated.
I don't know.
Who the heck knows? Anyway, let's tie this up with a bow because we got some more stuff to do.
It is a motion. You know it.
Police were here all the time, and they did escort a large group outside, but it's unclear right now if anyone was taken into custody or arrested. Reporting from South Holland, I'm Regina Waldrop.
Great job,
Regina. Move away from there.
Well, I think Regina works in Chicago and has to come down here and commute to this madness here. Oh, my God. What a way to run a government. What the hell, man?
So we found a place worse than the People's Republic of New York City, possibly.
Calm down. Calm down with that. So listen, gang, if you guys want to know more about the trials and tribulations of Dolton, Illinois, and Thornton Township and Tiffany Henyard, I highly recommend you can go to Nate the Lawyer. He runs a great channel where he has a whole playlist of what's been going on for years there. Also, Actual Justice Warrior has been doing the same thing and covering Tiffany Henyard, the super mayor, as she calls herself. And this is just sort of the logical progression, pal, of what one party rule would do to an area. And it breaks down to chaos.
But I bet you they don't have congestion pricing.
Picking scabs, Galloway, picking scabs. If you like that clip from our new show, Behind Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.